Today on Beyond 6 Seconds.
If it doesn't directly affect the person, it's very easy to not see it or not allow it to affect you, and it should affect you. We should be concerned about our neighbors, even if they're 1,000 miles away.
Welcome to Beyond 6 Seconds, the podcast that goes beyond the 6-second first impression to share the extraordinary stories and achievements of everyday people. I'm your host, Carolyn Keel. My guest on the podcast today is Jeannette Wheatley. After Hurricane Katrina hit the Gulf Coast in 2005, Jeannette spent 3 years volunteering with a charitable organization called World Hope for their hurricane relief efforts. So, Jeannette, what inspired you to volunteer with the Hurricane Katrina relief efforts?
Well, I was at church one day, and I hadn't heard about this at all. And they started talking in the pulpit about the hurricane, and there was a group that was about 2 hours away from me that was going to go to do this. Now, I'd never done anything like that, and I didn't know a soul in this group. They were from far from me, never met any of them, and I just felt in my heart, you're supposed to go. Now, that might be an okay message for some people, but I had just fallen off a roof of a house and had broken my arm in a few places. I'd really destroyed my shoulder. I was scheduled for surgery. So I couldn't even do daily life. I couldn't even pick up an empty cup of coffee.
Wow.
And so for me to be hearing you're supposed to go, I'm like, God, is this you or is this, my compassionate heart? I need to know because it just made no sense. So I just kept praying about it, and I started getting all these flash pictures in my head. And the odd thing is skip ahead, when I got down there, I met some of the people I saw that day in my thoughts.
Wow.
And I walked into the building, and the one woman looked at me, and she turned snow white, and she said, I just saw you in a dream last night. Oh, confirmation.
Oh, my goodness.
But it's because I just knew that I knew that I knew. That when I heard him talking about it, I was supposed to go. So I called my doctor and I said, I have to postpone the surgery that you've got set for me. He wasn't very happy, to say the least.
Sure.
I have to go on a mission trip.
Wow. I should say, when you were there in the church, you were living in Michigan at the time. Is that right?
Correct.
So you went on the mission to Louisiana from there?
Yeah, we were based out of Kenner, Louisiana, which is not far from New Orleans. And we slept on the floor of a VFW hall, a little teeny building. They might have an air mattress, but they might not.
Did you have a cast on your arm, or how did you survive with the broken arm while you were there?
No, I didn't have a cast, but I had gone through the broken part with the broken bones. They set them. But my shoulder, I couldn't move my arm hardly at all because I had done so much damage in my shoulder that I actually had bone on bone because the bursa sac, which is like a little water balloon, it had been damaged. So it was empty, and that's your cushion. I didn't have that. So I just couldn't use my right arm, and I'm right-handed. So, well, I'm not sure why I'm being sent here, but I'm going.
Wow.
But that was during the early teardown stages. So using your arms was really important. But I got used in so many other ways. It was amazing.
Yeah. So tell me about the kind of work you got there when you first got to Louisiana. What were you involved in doing there?
When we first got there, it was a lot of mucking out. It was a lot of emptying houses, tearing things apart. We weren't assigned to finding people and such, but sometimes it comes along with your path. I mean, when you're cleaning out houses, you find stuff.
Wow.
But we had a lot of tear outs at first. Our assignment with the World Hope at first was demo work. Tearing out the walls, carrying things out to the curb, basically gutting the house and helping the homeowner. There was a lot of homeowners that they needed someone. They'd just been absolutely traumatized. See, I ended up being on the talking to people because I couldn't swing a hammer. I couldn't use a crowbar.
Right.
And so that ended up being my role, is I would be on the compassion, empathy, people side of it. And these people needed someone to talk to. They needed to understand and have comfort. They needed someone that could just listen sometimes without talking. I met a woman who had lost her husband and her son.
Wow.
And in the vehicle with her, they had just pulled up to what was left of their house because they were one of the early tear-outs. And there was 2 little kids in the vehicle, and they didn't have a daddy or a grandpa now. They never found these people. I mean,
wow.
The waves came in and the waves went out. Some people were found and some people never will be. And these people, the ones that are left, I mean, if you turn up all the noise in your life for a minute and think about, that's just trauma on a whole nother level.
It's hard enough to lose all your things and then to lose the lives of the people that you're with, and then to never have that closure of knowing to never know where their resting place is. Oh, yeah, that's difficult.
Yeah, a lot of trauma, a lot of heart trauma that went on. I think the people heart trauma was even more severe and bitter than any physical thing you could do. So our group ended up being the whole mix. We had the people that could just go in there and boom, 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 knocked out the project. And then there was people that were just there. Me, I couldn't swing a crowbar and hammer. So God used me in the ways that he knew he needed to use me. It's being where you're supposed to be. It's what it's all about.
And you not only spent time in Louisiana, you also volunteered for World Hope back in your home state of Michigan. So what did you do there when you were in Michigan?
I had so many pictures I would take, and I thought, more needs to happen. People need to know. Because that first trip I came back, walked in my house, touched my walls, and cried because I had walls and they didn't. And that changed me. I would talk to people about it, and if you don't live it, if you don't see it, it's like anything else. It's kind of real, but it's not as real as it needs to be. And so it really broke my heart because I'd walk those streets, I'd talk to the people, and then I go back to a place where it's not affecting, and they didn't get it. And I thought, you need to get it. You need to understand. Out of that birthed my media campaign. And I got people to let me come and talk. I would have large groups, small groups, businesses, presidents of companies. I would tell everyone, and I would give them CD pictures, for their computers that they could keep and share. I got a lot of people that would help me raise funds and donations. I got people that said, oh my gosh, I need to go help. It was awakening for many. And it needs to be. People need to understand there's other people in the world besides the ones in their house or the ones in their neighborhood. And we all need to be there for each other in whatever capacity we can be. If it doesn't directly affect the person, it's very easy to not see it or not allow it to affect you, and it should affect you. We should be concerned about our neighbors, even if they're 1,000 miles away.
Absolutely. So where did you give your talks?
Well, the churches were a big one. They would let me come in. One church actually, after meeting with the pastor, gave me the Sunday morning to do a slideshow and a presentation, and I would never ask for a penny. I would go in as an education, and then they would have a donation, by their own choosing. I thought, okay, what do we need? We need flooring products. Let's go talk to flooring businesses. We need paint. Let's go talk to paint companies. We need cleaning products. Let's go talk to the cleaning companies. In my hometown in Michigan, where I came from, there's a very large cleaning company, the lighting company, electrical, very well known in the town. And I got to meet with the president of that company. He was so impressed with what we were doing. He just wrote me $1,000 check and said, here, I trust you to do what you need to do with this.
Wow.
That day made me realize that I really was being given favor with people. And so I needed to come back full circle. And then that's when I decided I'm going to make follow-up videos for these people that donate and let me talk to them. Because it helps reassure them, you trusted me with your products, your finances, your services, your people. I'm going to show you what you helped do. It was good for them to see that. And I made sure that I was in a picture so they could see, yes, this girl talked, and there she is doing it. There's my product right there. That's the house. Look, I gave her that.
Wow.
One company, we did that with the flooring, and they were so excited. And they put pictures up on their walls. They were so excited they got to be a part of it.
That's awesome. Because so many times you give to a charity or a cause, a lot of times you don't have the opportunity to see what happens with, your donation or your efforts. So I think just bringing that back, it's so important. And I could see how it just really reinforces with people and makes them feel this huge problem that seems insurmountable, but then they could see sort of the small piece that they play to help ease someone's pain and rebuild.
It also created, and this was not my intention, but it was wonderful. It also created repeat donations. It created connected donations. I would have companies that donated get a hold of me and say, hey, a person came to do business and they're from another business. They saw the pictures and they asked, they were excited. They want to help. And it's all because I went because I was told to go in my heart. And I came back and said, people don't understand. They need to know. And so I made the presentations. I did the follow-up. It's all because it's kind of like following your heart, but it's really following the promptings that you hear in your heart.
Mm-hmm.
Because you'll be led in the right direction.
And that continuing cycle to just build new ways to bring support and bring change to the community that really needs it. That's really special.
Yeah.
Now, you volunteered with the hurricane relief efforts for several years, I understand. Is that right?
It was back and forth for 3 years. Yeah, we didn't go in the summers because we were from Michigan, and summers in Louisiana, with the kind of work we were doing, just wouldn't physically be a good plan. To be out there when you're not used to that high humidity and the extreme heat, and you have northern very thick blood. So that was the time. I mean, we would go for a short period of time and then come back, and then go and come back. We went back and forth several times. And when I was back, in between actual on-site visits to Louisiana, I would be back, and that's when I would be gathering stuff. And my home became like a central point where I would just have people come and bring stuff. And my home got taken over for 3 years.
Wow.
And I would be on the campaign trail because I wasn't actively paycheck employed at that time, but I was extremely active in what I was doing. I mean, I just had such a passion for people and positive change and forward momentum. It's just a very big passion in me, and it's what drives me. So I was very hard at work, but I wasn't bringing money into my house because we had to pay for everything we did.
Wow.
Gas, vehicles, supplies. And so I would also use that time when I was talking to people to let them know that, I pay for all this stuff, that I don't get paid for this. And invite them to donate into that. Because I kept an accounting log. I thought if anyone ever asked me, I'm going to have answers. I'm going to be able to tell them where every penny goes. Because I believe in being completely open, and I want people to know when you gave, this is what it did.
Absolutely.
People would say, well, I want to help send you there. Okay, awesome. I welcome that. Let's put that over on this column.
Wow.
So it was very, very detailed, but I am very, very detailed.
Wow. So, as you were volunteering, you were getting some people who were donating specifically to help support you. But how did you actually support yourself without having an income from a job during those 3 years while you were volunteering?
Well, my husband was working outside the home, and it was hard. I'm not going to say it wasn't. It got extremely hard. We had to make some really tough decisions. We had to give things up. We had our own losses. I was down there helping others regain their lives. I was losing pieces of my own.
Wow.
But those were decisions I had to make. I had to choose. Do I keep my stuff, or do I let go because I'm called to the greater good?
Wow.
I've been restored. Things I lost have been restored to me. I mean, not the exact things, but I've been truly blessed. It was very, very hard. A lot of people would have chosen, okay, I have to focus on me now. I have to stop because I can't pay my house note. My food is, I can't stand peanut butter and jelly every day. But no, I had to do what I had to do. And if it meant self-sacrifice, I went there, and you meet these people that had lost humans and pets and homes, and they've lost everything. How can I look at my abundance compared to them and not say, I'm willing? I'm willing to give until beyond it hurts.
Wow.
And I did. I don't talk that. It's not a story I normally tell, but it's true. People want to be comfortable. They don't want to give beyond. Ouch, that kind of gave a little bruise. I think I'll stop now. No, I didn't. I didn't stop. I couldn't.
Yeah. As you said, you really felt called that this was what you should be doing.
I did.
And you had that faith that you would be okay, even if it meant that you had to make sacrifices and make choices.
Bottom line here is I knew, I'll say if, but I knew it was true, that I knew that if I was being called, if God called me into this to do his hands and feet, that he would take care of me. And that's not always pretty. I mean, Paul was in prison in the Bible, but he was still taken care of. I mean, we were never promised bonbons and luxury. We were told to be obedient. And so I just knew that if I walked in the will of what I was supposed to be doing, that I would be okay. It took a long time.
Wow.
But I'm okay.
What kind of changes did you see during those 3 years? I'm just curious to see, since you were working there for such a long time, what changes did you see as you were volunteering there?
Well, the most noticeable one was the people aspect.
Mm-hmm.
When we first got there was very, very few people. There was really no cars, very few cars, very few people, very quiet. And then towards the end of the 3 years, and that's when World Hope said, okay, our project is complete here, and that's why it ended. Cars were back, people were back, it was noisy, you drive down the road and it was beeping and lots of traffic. And I remember one day we were going over the I-10, heading out to, at that point we were going further and further out into Plaquemines Parish and Buras and quite out away from where we started. And I remember thinking, wow, there is so much traffic.
Mm-hmm.
When we first got here, it was very empty. And then again, when we first got there, there was one road that you'd drive down, you'd have to go really slow, and you avoided that road if at all possible,
mm-hmm.
because it was like a washboard. It would just shake your teeth loose.
Wow.
Because of what happened, it just destroyed that road. Well, over time, the road was torn up and replaced, so now it's smooth. When we first got there, you would see boats in the tops of trees. I have a picture I took where someone's full-size pickup truck got picked up and dropped down through the top of someone's house. So you've got this house with the truck sticking out the top like it's some strange chimney.
Right.
Buildings that were upside down. One house got lifted off its foundation, moved over, turned diagonal, and sat back down, and the car was halfway under the house. That kind of stuff is at the beginning, and as things progressed, you saw more demo work happening, more removal. But then also, while you're watching that, you're watching and noticing the changes. It really made the areas that nothing was changing stand out like a sore thumb.
Oh.
And that broke my heart.
Yeah.
Those are the kind of places we'd go. Places where people didn't have insurance. They didn't have money to fix it. They had no help. They had no hope. Enter World Hope. We went where others didn't or wouldn't, and we did whatever was needed.
That's really great that you were able to provide that support. Wow. So I know you're still quite active in helping communities and volunteering. Is there anything that our listeners can do to support either you or some of your current volunteer work that you're doing?
There is. Actually, I'm always doing something.
Mm-hmm.
I won't stop. It's in me. Right now, I have a pastor and his wife. They're both pastors in Kisumu, Kenya.
Mm-hmm.
I've known them for a number of years now. And the village that they're in has no water. They have to walk great distances. They do not drive around. They walk.
Mm-hmm.
But they have no water. They have no well. And my mission right now, what I'm doing is I'm raising money to put in a well that the pastor will oversee, because you have to have someone that oversees it so it stays safe and under control of the right people. I'm trying to get $700 and we can put in this well. I was quite surprised that I thought it was going to be a lot more.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm very pleased that it's not a lot more. But that is my current project with the pastor in Kisumu, Kenya. David Congo, wonderful gentleman, and his wife Irene. We're trying to put in a well so they can have clean water. They can share it with their church, their community. This will bring people. This isn't just about a well, although it is very much about a well. Now you've got water. People will come. When the people come, you can talk to them. You can share with them. This is just an opportunity of tremendous proportions. But it's critical because in order to get water, they have to walk great distance. When you're walking great distance and you're in villages type of environment, this is another example of things people do not understand. When you're out there and you're walking in this type of environment, you're in danger.
Right.
Because you're just out there.
Mm-hmm.
You're not locked in your nice car driving down the street. You're out there walking.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a safety, it's a health. There's so many reasons that this desperately needs to happen.
Yeah, it changes people's entire lives and how they spend their time and their safety and everything about their quality of life. All goes back to
Yeah,
that.
and every time I go to the faucet to turn on my water, it just grips me harder. Lord, I need this well. Send people to help join in this support. Send them.
So how do people support that if they're interested in doing that? Is there a website or how does that work?
Well, the first step would be they can either connect with me if they're on LinkedIn,
Mm-hmm.
or they can email me, because the answer is they can send money directly to Pastor Akongo through Western Union. I've been doing that for years. It works perfectly. I believe he has a website. I just don't really use his website because I call him. I talk with him online. And so I directly connect. But I can give them all that information when they contact me with the email.
Okay. So I'll put links to your LinkedIn page, your email, as well as Pastor David's Facebook page so that people can get in touch either with you or with Pastor David. So I have to ask, since you were talking about it at the beginning of our podcast, what happened with your shoulder? Is it healed now? What happened with that?
All right. So this is cool. Are you ready?
Yeah.
I'm going to give you the real version. This is for real.
Okay.
All right. So I went up to the altar that day that guy was telling me about, go on this mission trip. So I said, well, God, is that me or is that you? And I went up, and there's no magic thing about altar, okay? It's just a place. It's just a 2-foot square of earth, you know? And I'm just there listening. And he starts showing me all these peoples and places and pictures. And I have photographs of places I saw with my eyes that I saw that day. I met people that I saw that day. Well, I'm up there and I said, but God, my shoulder, how can I go? My shoulder. I can't even pick up a cup. And he said to me, I call it think talk because it sounds like you, but it's in your head. It says stuff that it's just, it's not you.
Oh.
And he says, you go take care of my people and I will take care of your shoulder. And I thought, all right, well, you're going to protect me so I don't get worse. And I'm going to go do what you asked. See, we're humans. We think small. So I went and I did everything he told me to do. Well, then it comes time. Surgery's been rescheduled. It's time for surgery. Now I've got bursa sac has been ripped, emptied. I've got broken bones, torn tendons, bone fragments stuck in muscles. It's a disaster. It's like a hurricane went through my shoulder.
Oh.
I fell off the top of a house. I get in the operating room, and they're all ready. And I say, is everyone in here that's going to be in here during surgery? And there was one anesthesia helper. I make them go get them. So they come in. I said, all right, because I'm a customer. It's my world at that moment. Until they knock me out, my mouth is still going. And I said, all right, well, before we do this, I want to pray. So they all just kind of gather up around me. And I said, Lord, now I know at this point in my life that the word if is silly. Of course, it's always his will, but this is what I said. Lord, at this last minute, if it be your will, heal me and show them you are God. Before I did that, the doctor read off the list of everything that was wrong with me. Then I prayed. Then they put the mask on. They knocked me out. They opened up my shoulder. Every single thing was healed before their eyes.
Wow.
They had MRIs, CAT scans.
Yeah.
The doctor read the list before I prayed. Every single thing. My bones were put back together. The bursa sac was repaired and refilled.
Wow.
The muscles were not torn. The tendons weren't. Nothing was wrong. I had 3 nurses wrote me letters and said that because of what they couldn't deny, they had surrendered their lives to the Lord and made changes. Yeah, he healed me because he said, you go take care of my people and I'll take care of your shoulder. He didn't say, I'd make sure you didn't get worse. He said he'd take care of it. And he did. Right in front of everybody.
Wow.
Can't deny it.
Amazing.
And so the doctor tells me, he says, well, you asked him to heal it. He did. So I thought, well, so it doesn't over-calcify. I beveled your bone a little bit. We don't need to help God. Now my purse falls off my shoulder all the time.
Oh, God.
Because the doctor thought he needed to help God. That's priceless.
Oh, man. Wow. That's an amazing
so there's
story.
The story of my shoulder.
Wow.
Medically proven. I got documents before. I got documents after.
Incredible.
Yeah, I've had a lot of crazy things in my life happen. I can't deny who's my dad. I can't deny. I can't even doubt. I mean, I don't have that right anymore. I've seen too much.
Wow. Amazing.
That's why I can go and do all this stuff without any fear.
Yeah.
They call me Miracle Girl at that orthopedic doctor's office because it's not the first time they've dealt with me. Hey, Miracle Girl, how you doing? They asked permission to talk about me at medical events.
Wow.
I said, yeah, just leave off any direct, personally identifying information because I don't need to be vetted. Talk away. Take my file with you and read from it. I don't care. People need to know.
Wow. Well, that's an incredible, just amazing story. I really appreciate you sharing it here on my podcast and with all of our listeners. Really amazing to hear your entire experience from the call you received all the way through to all of the service you were able to provide through donations and support in every kind of way, and to really have a miraculous ending. And it seems like there were a lot of miracles all along the way. So thank you so much, Jeanette, for sharing your story with us today.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening to the Beyond 6 Seconds podcast. Please subscribe to the show in iTunes or your favorite podcast player so you won't miss any episodes. You can also find all the show notes and links we discussed in this episode at our website, www.beyond6seconds.com. Until next time.